guess who's back? Back again. Backstreet's back. Tell a
All
friend.
right.
Okay, so it's been a while since we've convened. How's everybody doing?
Well, I'm, horrified.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up.
It's another day in America. We're all horrified.
Yeah,
Just,
another day in America.
We got to get through this to get to the Roddenberry universe. Though,
That's what
so.
they keep telling me. And
I always forget we gotta have the eugenics war first.
You got to have the Bell riots before you can get peace and happiness.
So it's going to get worse. Okay.
Well,
It has to get worse before it gets better.
Bell riots happened in the July
last year.
2024.
Just
they were last
recently,
year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And wasn't that fun? Didn't we all have fun watching that on our TVs?
And now homelessness is resolved. And
Everything's taken care of.
yeah.
So, okay, listen. If you're listening to this, you're familiar with the show that we're doing. It's a show where I talk about Star Trek with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And December 2024, we got an angry letter telling us, hey, you can't call your show that anymore.
It was, an angry letter from some high-priced lawyers on Hollywood Boulevard.
And I was really sad. I cried for a whole day, and then I got over it. And then everybody's like, oh, what are you going to call your new show? What are you going to name your new show? And guess what? Did you know naming something is impossible?
It's tough.
It's tough. So
ask me what I went through to just secure the name Geekshow. That's a whole podcast right there. That's a whole.
Well,
so
I will just interject that Rob and I both have twins, so we get it.
Rob, do you really have a twin? Are you for real? And I did not know this?
No, his children. Our children
are twin children.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So naming. He gets the naming.
Naming. Okay. Yeah. I was like, Rob, oh my God, I didn't know you were a twin. Okay, so.
So now I immediately came up with a suggestion that Rebecca shot down, and that was Talk and Trek with Rebecca Frost. And no one liked that one. So.
He also posited the spaceship show, and I was like, I refuse to settle just to fit the acronym convention. And a lot of people were so nice and put out suggestions like Frost in Space. I was so close to just going with Frost in Space, and then Carrie did a Google search and said, no, you can't do Frost in Space. Yeah, and so I'm not gonna lie, I pulled a Jay Whittaker, got a little high the other day, and was like, I was so frustrated. I was like, I am this close to calling this show TV Show in Space. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what? I actually don't hate that. And so until we get another angry letter from somebody, I'm gonna go ahead and go with TV Show in Space.
All right. So this is the TV Show in Space.
And
it's about shows
in space
that are in space that are on TV. Okay.
Which is what we were doing anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, welcome to a new episode of TV Show in Space, The Return. I'm your host, Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Frost, joined by Admiral Kerry Jackson, Commander Robert Neal, and a very special guest, you guys, Jake Black, Star Trek himself.
Yes.
Jake Black.
No. I legally can't say that.
You legally can't. I think we can.
Yeah, we can call you whatever we want.
Yeah, fair.
We just watch the Trek. You make the Trek.
You get your hands dirty.
Yes. I did once upon a time.
Once upon a time.
Yeah. Until 5 months ago.
Just Google Jake Black Star Trek, and you'll find all of his stuff.
I'm seeing a lot of Twilight Star Trek crossover stuff in my Google search. I don't know.
Did you read my my screen name there, Rebecca?
Yeah, your transporter clone is a werewolf. You guys, okay, so the episodes we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about these episodes from season 6 of Next Generation. We are literally picking right back up from where we left off. So if you are new to this particular iteration of the show, I can hook you up with past iterations. Just shoot me a message and we'll figure it out.
We just have to keep it away from the public.
It has to go through some changes first before I can put
lawyers.
it. listen, my philosophy on life, anytime I get like anxious or overwhelmed, I just remember we are but specks of dust in this big grand universe and literally nothing matters. So why can't a scientist who studies space have the same philosophy I do?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there. Okay, so the episodes in season 6 of The Next Generation that we are going to talk about today: Suspicions, Rightful Heir, Second Chances, and Timescape. And there's really only one episode I'm going to want to spend all my time on today. But to get there, Suspicions, Dr. Crusher puts her career on the line to prove a scientist's theoretical new shielding technology, which may have cost him his life. This episode is mostly told in flashbacks to our resident problem solver, Guinan. So the problem is, Beverly has met a Ferengi scientist, Dr. Rhaegar, and wants to support his work by creating a research panel to test his invention, a metaphasic shield so a shuttle can fly into the corona of a star.
Now, Ferengi scientist.
So here's the thing.
Didn't think you'd ever encounter that, did you?
And as part of this research panel, there's also a Klingon. But you have to think that Ferengi and Klingon scientists exist within these cultures, because otherwise, how would they have warp technology?
Backwards.
For the Ferengi, yeah, fair.
Yeah, they'd buy it.
But this Ferengi in particular, he's taken a whole other approach. So his work is not supported by his government, and he is so desperate to prove that this technology works. He's willing to give the rights to it to one of these other panelists. He just wants to prove that it works and have his name go down in history.
As far as a Ferengi goes, that is an anarchist, is what that is.
The only Ferengi I've liked so far. So the panel consists of some notable scientists, and one of these scientists, Joe Brill, agrees to pilot the shuttle. However, baryon levels rise in the shuttle, and Joe Brill ultimately dies. Rhaegar's credibility is shot, and he appears to kill himself because of it. So Beverly, however, not convinced, and even does an autopsy on him, even though his family requested nobody touch him, because the pursuit of truth will not stop her. She suspects sabotage, and while in present time telling the story, she is packing, thinking she's going to be
drummed out of Starfleet.
traded out of Starfleet after a pending inquiry. Guinan, ever so lovingly, nudges her to pursue the truth, as she does. So Beverly does. Joe Brill is actually alive, and he is the saboteur, because we suspected sabotage earlier for the show. Sabotage. And Beverly straight up obliterates him in a fight. All is good. Truth prevails. Blah, 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 blah. Kind of a fun episode, told all through flashbacks. This is the last time we see Guinan in Next Generation.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm
Didn't
devastated.
realize that. I thought she came back at least for the finale. Oh,
Nope.
wow.
Nope.
She's in 2 of the movies.
Yeah, she is in the movie.
Yeah, she shows up again in Generations and Nemesis, but this is her last time we ever see her in the TV show.
Interesting.
Well, she had to do the View.
And then in the 30 years later TV show.
Yeah.
Well, some of us haven't gotten there yet.
I know. That's what I'm here for, is to spoil it.
I mean, I'd appreciate it if you didn't, but I'm also
No,
not
I will,
upset
I
if you
will,
do.
I will.
Believe me,
I
Jake,
will.
as often as we want to talk about Deep Space Nine, she,
Listen, I also want to talk about Deep Space Nine, but I haven't even watched it yet, so you have to let me watch it. So
Fine.
I will say this is my only Deep Space Nine comment, and it relates to the episode, so Suspicions.
okay.
The reason we have a Ferengi scientist is because Deep Space Nine is midway through its first season when this episode airs.
at this time,
And the redemption of the Ferengi has just begun.
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Good.
Well,
Good.
I mean,
Stick with that. Stick with that.
Ferengi really can't be redeemed. I mean, if you take a look at some of their ideas, but they're close. They're getting close,
Oh God, I just hate the Ferengi so much, and the Romulans, and we'll talk about that more later. But the next episode I would like to talk about.
Wait a minute. Can I have just a minute to posit a couple of things here?
Yes, of course.
Please. Because
Yes.
I was watching this and I was like, So first you have the Ferengi scientist who just wants to get his work out there, but realize it's not going to be taken seriously. And as this is Black History Month, this is the perfect parallel for Black scientists or Black anybody in industry before a certain point in time not being able to get their work credibly believed because, well, you're Black.
Oh, okay.
Surely can't be right.
What do you mean? Here, let me take this for you and patent this and reap all the benefits of it. So there was that. I'm watching it going, that's a thing.
That's a thing.
Secondly, while I love that they gave Beverly something to do other than look at somebody's injury and walk away off camera, this was more of a Geordie episode for me than a Beverly episode.
Oh,
How so?
This is more engineering than medical science outside of the autopsy.
you're right.
So I'm just like, this should have been a Geordie or even, nope, this person was no longer on the show at that point. Never mind. Mostly a Geordie episode or some other engineer that we may or may not see later. Lastly, are you telling me that after 500 years they can't do an autopsy without actually cutting the body open? She could have just scanned the body.
That was my question.
She could have just been like, boop, okay, we're good. Because they could do everything else with the tricorder.
I literally had the same thought.
And they would never know. I'm just going to do a couple of deep tissue scans. Done.
Nobody's going to know.
And then there's the tennis elbow thing, too. That's
Right.
And
Yeah.
Guinan never played tennis in her life.
Oh, that tricky Guinan. But I mean, those are the
tricky.
three things that stood out to me. I'm just kind of like, really? Okay,
Good
we
thoughts.
can do
Good
this.
thoughts.
I do love getting more glimpses into Beverly's personality because, like I have said before, Beverly's messy and she has jumped to the conclusion so fast that she's going to be let go from her current position. And she just, instead of waiting for the inquiry and for things to play out as they should, she immediately goes back to her cabin and starts packing up all of her stuff. And Guinan's like, hey, what if instead we used our time productively?
I'm sorry. I just realized that this was one other failed or missed opportunity. There's a mystery afoot. You have somebody that likes to play detective with his best friend.
Oh,
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
okay. All right.
He was busy. They can't always be playing Sherlock.
But this wasn't even in the holodeck. They could have done it in real life.
Real
would've-
life mysteries are scary. They have
He would have worn the
consequences.
hat. You know, he would have worn
He could have at
the
least worn that.
hat. Can I tell my Guinan Whoopi Goldberg story quickly?
Please,
Sure,
I
please.
insist.
Okay, so a year ago this month, at the beginning of February, I was writing a recap for Discovery. So it was the final season of Discovery was coming up, and I wrote the first 4 seasons in 4 minutes, and it was narrated by Whoopi Goldberg.
Yes, I remember this.
And I didn't realize that they were going to let me do this, but I went to the recording session with her, and she's such a pro. She's amazing. It's in the studio that she records everything in with the engineer that has been working with her for like 25 years. It's this little
Really?
hole-in-the-wall place in Midtown Manhattan, because she hates to travel. She hates leaving New York. She can
blame her?
avoid it. Yeah. And she clearly was just having a great time doing this. And I was just standing there in awe of Whoopi Goldberg reading my words, in the studio. She's asking pronunciation questions and stuff. After she comes out of the studio, and her rep is there, the PR person from Paramount is there, and it's me. And we're all just gushing about how great she is. And I said, nothing in my career will top this. And she grabbed my hand, she looked me in the eye, and she said, Jake, honey, you are going to have a very long career, and this will just be something that you enjoyed. To which I replied, nothing will top that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really good, and you can find that recap just on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
For when you're ready, Rebecca.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just if Whoopi Goldberg called me honey, Oh, I would have that moment in time framed in my mind palace to just like always revisit.
So, then now that answers a question, because I always kind of wondered why Whoopi never did conventions that much,
Yeah.
or any events really with Trek. She just doesn't like to travel. I like that. That's great.
Yeah, I think she did the Vegas convention a couple of times because she was there for other things.
Ah,
But
Yeah.
yeah,
very cool.
my wife and I actually saw her a couple of months later. She was doing a book signing for her memoir that had just come out last May, I guess. And we got up to the table and she looked at me and she's like, "I know you." And I was like, "Well, we worked together a few months ago." And she looked at my wife, looked back at me and was like, "Thanks for the gig."
Oh my gosh! We love a humble queen.
Oh, she truly is amazing. She and Patrick Stewart both are everything you want them to be.
Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah,
I believe
yeah.
it.
I'll tell my Patrick Stewart stories later.
Yeah, sorry to derail.
Oh, no.
No, this show has no structure. So
It's talking Trek with Rebecca.
I just like talking about Star Trek with my friends. Okay.
Oh, by the way, right here, this is my acting ensign Wesley Crusher comm badge. It's all
Nice.
silver. That's how you know it's the Wesley Crusher one.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
I didn't know. Oh, I guess
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
when-
never would have noticed that.
When he was
These
wearing
details.
that gray turtleneck sweater thing,
with the rainbow thing.
his comm badge is all silver. Yep.
Oh, no, see,
Oh.
I got to go look now. You give me something else to do today, Jake.
Homework. Who knew?
Carrie's just gonna scroll
I gotta
eBay.
go watch the Whoopi thing, and now this.
Well, let's as much as I love talking about Whoopi, let's talk about Worf for a little bit in Rightful Heir. During Worf's crisis of faith on Boreth, Kahless the Unforgettable makes his promised legendary return, but Klingon leader Gowron challenges his authenticity. So, okay, what if I told you Jesus? You guys know Jesus, our friend Jesus.
Heard of him.
They keep telling us he's coming back, right? And what if one day you guys are really struggling with the fact that Jesus has not come back yet, right? And like, oh my God, like, what does this mean for me? Am I a good Christian? Blah, blah, blah. And then one day Jesus shows up and you're like, well, now that's awfully convenient. And you do tests on Jesus and you get DNA from the Shroud of Turin and you test it against this new guy's DNA. And he's like, oh my God, it's Jesus, everybody. And but then you find out this isn't like really Jesus. This is actually a clone of Jesus. Do you tell the general population that Jesus has returned, or do you tell the general population the truth that this is actually just a clone of Jesus? And what does it do to the community? That's what this episode asks.
My question is, does the space pope's eyes bug out enough to get a really close look? Yeah.
What's the conclave like for space popes? So essentially,
that was a terrific Gowron eyes there, Carrie. That was
jump
beautiful.
scare. Literally every time Gowron shows up, it's a jump scare. I cannot believe this is the guy in charge because he just looks like a surprised child to me.
Yeah, Lee loves Robert Wright. He just thinks he's terrific.
You have to love his cadence too, because everything he talks is with this kind of approach.
And then his final words in his sentence will be down here.
But I'm always so surprised by how impressed I am by Gowron because there's a reason he's the leader, right?
Is, yeah.
He immediately skeptical, right? So Worf, crisis of faith, neglecting his duties. Picard is like, go away and figure your shit out. And so Worf goes, meditates, chants, 10 days, nothing happens. And then one day, Kahless returns and Worf sneaks away to get his tricorder. They test it, beep, boop, boop, bop, test the DNA on knife, was it a sacred
Batleth?
knife?
Oh, no.
Was
No,
no, it was
No,
a secret. It was like a secret,
the-
like a
It was
sacred
one of
knife.
those that
Yeah.
does the thing.
And it's the DNA matches and it's crazy, and he's got all these stories that like line up with his personal history, and
Now, see, back to your Jesus analogy.
yeah,
Do you tell everyone?
do you tell?
I would wait to see how the public is reacting to Jesus. If it's a positive reaction, then maybe I keep it secret. But if it's a negative reaction, like your modern day Christians seem to keep forgetting that he was all about feeding the poor and clothing them,
Socialism.
they forget that whole
What?
socialist bent that Jesus had. Then I would tell them he's a clone. Yeah.
So who would be our Gowron who challenges Jesus to a fight? Because what happens is Gowron challenges Kahless to a fight because apparently Kahless is the warrior, the greatest warrior, right? And Gowron beats him like so fast, so embarrassingly.
Oh, yeah.
Which, then leads everybody to be like, okay, what's the deal? And this is where we find out, oh, this is actually a clone. And we thought it would be good for the general population and to unite the already divided empire over the return of our Klingon Jesus. So, what do you do?
I think first of all, our challenger there is probably Putin.
Yeah.
Because if there's anyone in the world that's going to be like, I dare you to Jesus Christ, it's probably Vladimir Putin.
I would argue it would be the 47th president going, I'm bigger than this guy. I can do it. Because he'd have
Elon?
just that much, 47 and a half, yes. It'd be like, I could do this. I'm bigger than this guy. Not a problem.
But see, the problem is that Putin could win because
that's true.
He would unleash the full might of everything. He would have no restraints on doing that.
But see, here's
Jesus.
Here's
He'd
the,
nuke Jesus. Yeah.
here's the flaw in your entire logic chain: is that Jesus would not fight.
He would turn the other cheek.
He would turn the other cheek, which is why
Well
I
put.
think it would be a debate between Penn Jillette and Jesus. That's what would happen.
But this comes off kind of like, and Kara, you may be the only person on here who gets this reference, and I apologize for that. It's kind of like, Oh God and Oh God Book 2. I thought at first it might have been like Bruce Almighty. Then I'm like, no, because there's a little more evidence of power there. But this is kind of like, I'm just showing you this one thing. We're not talking a lot about it, and you've got to make the choice. And unfortunately, in this case, it's also the choice of, is he or is he not, specifically to the populace.
Because those movies, George Burns plays God in the movies, and they're very well done. John Denver is actually a good actor. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
Who's John Denver play? God?
He
No.
plays the innocent
The guy who
George,
God reveals himself to.
Yeah, George Burns is God. But yeah, those all go philosophically. Is he really God? Is he not? And
And all of the things like you were saying, the Shroud of Turin, how do we prove it? How do we not prove it? And, they leave it less open-ended for is he or is he not? But for the time, it was kind of revolutionary to have this kind of movie and ask these kinds of questions. But for me, this episode is kind of like that, kind of like, oh, it's so Worf is John Denver, and Kahless is George Burns. Okay, and you go.
There's a great scene where George Burns gets to do a little bit of serious acting in that movie, where he says to him, "Oh, was Jesus your son?" And I think it was on a talk show or something. And
You were
God,
all my sons.
And God says, "Jesus was my son. Buddha was my son." And he starts going,
everybody my son.
yeah. So it's funny because those movies were so controversial at the time because it was questioning the whole situation.
Faith, yeah.
This goofy looking guy was God.
Exactly. And when, because I grew up in Salem, Utah, small town. Right next door to us was Payson, Utah, another small town, but they had a movie theater. That's where I saw Star Wars every night for an entire month. Anyway, When they played the Oh God movies, they wouldn't put the word God on the title of the marquee. The marquee.
Was it
up
G
front.
Star D?
They changed it to That Very Special Movie. Yeah, I know, right?
Did they get a cease and desist for that? I don't know.
No. This was back in the 70s. I have so many stories about that movie theater because I spent so much time there. Anyway.
I do like the idea. I had to Google what George Burns looks like, and I do like the idea of God being just this goofy, round glasses, cigar smoking.
He looks like Mr.
doofus.
Magoo. Yeah.
He does look like Mr. Magoo.
It was a good choice.
So my big takeaway from this episode is that the blackface is not as severe as it was the first time we saw Kalis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's so
I'm just gonna go and just walk away.
yeah.
I'm just gonna be like,
Okay.
So much like Whoopi's final appearance, who was in the last episode, this is Gowron's final appearance in Star Trek: The Next Generation, and we won't see him until the House of Quark, wherever that is.
He shows up a lot in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, goody!
Yeah.
You'll get your fill, and the House of Quark.
Joy.
Do you know who Quark is?
Yeah, I know who he
Okay,
is.
all right. So a Gowron and Quark episode. I'm just throwing it out there for you.
Christ, okay.
buddy cop episode.
No, that very special deity.
Big eyes, big ears. Can't lose. Okay, listen, you guys, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I want to talk about my favorite episode so far. It's called
Yay.
Second Chances.
I got something for you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thomas Riker.
This is the Thomas Riker action figure from it's from 94. Yeah, 94. And I got this signed when I went to the First Contact screening in LA.
Brag.
The entire cast was there. Now, if you'll look here, I had it autographed by Frakes. And how I was able to get that past everybody was my radio partner, Bill Allred, went to college with Jonathan Frakes
Nuh-uh.
at Penn State.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I went to him and I said, hey, I'm your old college buddy Ralph. Well, how is Ralph? Because that's
No way.
It's Bill's real
Did they
name.
know each other?
Yeah. And so he said, yeah, let me sign that. So I got it signed by Frakes. Now, I want you to notice, though, the most important part. This is just a regular Riker figure.
I mean, yeah.
Look closely at the chest. You see that? There's a tear in the uniform because the original Riker figure had a tear in the uniform. This one, they just painted over the tear.
Insane.
Come on, nobody wants to remold it. We just call it good. We're good.
And what's with that hand? I don't understand.
It's for gripping stuff.
It's for putting one hand on the chair as he throws a leg over.
That must
Yeah.
be it. That must be it.
So
That is a very hard to find figure too. It's one of the more valuable in the Playmates line.
Is it? Because I just went on eBay and it's only $20. So I
Oh,
was
really?
like, I thought it would be worth more.
Usually it's been around 40, but
Oh,
if that's the going rate now, I'm just gonna.
well,
let
I mean,
go.
it ranges from 20 to 50, but
Yeah.
the 50s are from guys who are anyway.
hilarious.
I was gonna dig my one out of those if I'd had a little bit more time before I knew I was coming on today.
I know, Jake. I'm so sorry. I did.
Oh, no, it's good.
I
I'm
shot
excited.
Jake the world's most last minute invite.
I had enough time to put on my Next Generation shirt,
Excellent.
which I wore to the Picard season 3 premiere.
Brag! Oh my God!
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
are going places. I'm never gonna get to meet a Star Trek. So
You will.
one day I will.
September.
So before, I'm so glad I accidentally did homework before this episode. I read Imzadi by Peter David.
You
Oh,
did.
nice.
I
That's a
did.
good book.
And when I say read, I listened to the audiobook read by Jonathan Frakes. So that was fun. But jump scare homework. I was so glad I read that book before watching this episode because I got a deeper insight into Riker 2 in this episode, and like his Lothario romantic Riker. You guys, I would watch 10 seasons of a Deanna Riker show of just them doing their stuff. Everything else can be happening in the background, but I would watch 10 seasons of a show that's just them. So let's get to it. Riker's exact duplicate is discovered on Nervala 4. His first order of business, resume his relationship with Deanna. His second order, obey orders from his superior, himself. So
see, again, you know where I'm going to go with this. The weird relationship between these two.
It's
between
so
Riker
weird.
and Deanna. Weird relationship. Anyway.
Very weird. So the episode, I am going to spend more detail on this episode. So everyone's hanging out in 10 forward. Beverly's wearing, not that this matters, a cold shoulder top. I hate that we're in the future and cold shoulder tops are still around. And
They
Riker's
have
playing
internal thermal controls now.
Yeah, but the cold shoulder top, ooh. If you ever shop at Torrid, it's like, hey, fat girls, you like cold shoulders and skulls on your shirts, right? Because that's all you're ever going to get. And we're like, no, what if we like clothes that everybody else is wearing? And they're like, no, cold shoulder tops. So Riker is playing with the band, playing his trombone, and he asks for requests. And Deanna goes, Nightbird. And Riker's like, literally anybody else, any requests? And she goes, Nightbird. And he goes, fine. And Beverly's like, what's up with that? And she's like, oh, he's been trying to nail the solo on this for like 10 years. And
I was hoping she was yelling Freebird, but that's another
Freebird. And luckily, Riker doesn't have to play it because he gets called to the bridge. And so he, relieved, goes to the bridge, and Data informs him that they will be able to transport down to the surface soon to get to the science outpost due to the use of transport logs of the USS Potemkin, which had last been there. Riker takes the time to reminisce about the Potemkin and how, I almost didn't make it out of there. The whole situation, there was a transporter situation. I almost didn't make it out of there. Very scary. And so they're on a timetable in order to beam down. So blah, blah, blah. So they beam down to the outpost and they realize somebody must have been down here. And who emerges from the shadows? Another Riker. And to which I turn to my husband and I go, 2 Rikers? This guy claims to be Will Riker. He says 8 years ago, he led a team to evacuate this station. He did not return to the Potemkin like the others because he was the last one out and the distortion field must have interfered with the transport. They lost the signal lock on him, and when he tried to contact the ship, he couldn't get through the interference. He asks them to check with Starfleet to confirm that he was lost that day. Commander Riker, however, tells him that this is not what happened. He says that he himself was the last one out and he made it back to the Potemkin. So, to be fair, he doesn't know how both stories could be true. So, Dr. Crusher, come in, verify who this man is. And Beverly does her exam and she says, this is you. This is just another you. He genetically indistinguishable from Commander Riker. He's not a clone. Because there's no evidence of genetic drift. And she even compares their brain scans for brain organization patterns that are as unique as fingerprints. And there's only a few minor differences. And her final report, these are identical people. So now we've got 2 Rikers. So they convene in. I love when they have their conference table discussions because they talk and they're like, "Hey, 2 Rikers," and it cuts to Deanna, and Deanna's like, "Okay."
Why y'all looking at me?
How can I make this benefit me? So he has been alone for like 8 years, however, and so Dr. Crusher says that he's been down there for a long time, so she's hesitant to let him go back down there to finish the original mission that they were on, and so Deanna's like, I could go talk to him. I mean, that is my job. That is my job as the ship's counselor, to go talk to this man, right? So she
Just
gets
doing my
dressed.
job. Doing
She
my
gets
job.
dressed. And she goes to see Lieutenant Riker, and he is so jazzed to see her
Oh.
because remember, the last time they saw each other was on Beta Z after
Imzadi.
their romantic rendezvous.
That's right.
And he greets her by kissing her so passionately. And because to him, it's like the past 8 years have never happened. And so Deanna's like, oh boy, okay.
And I just kept yelling consent at the screen, you know.
She sits him down and she's like, okay, we have to talk.
I'm going to interject, Carrie.
Yes,
Go
please.
ahead.
On the consent front.
I'm just joking.
You remember in Encounter at Farpoint,
Yes.
she and Will meet for the first time, and they telepathically communicate for the one and only time in the entire run
That's
of the
right.
series.
That is right.
I bet Thomas was still mastered that, and he got consent telepathically.
Mm.
Okay. All right.
Have
I
you
like it.
met him? Okay.
I also just want to ask about his uniform, that he wore that same uniform for 8 years, and
Tattered.
yeah, the tattered like first season uniform.
Yeah.
Except that it was especially made for him because it wasn't a one piece like the first season.
Oh, it was
uniforms
a
were.
two-piece.
It was
Oh.
a 2-piece.
Oh,
Mm.
all right.
Well,
So
he
he
had
had
to
some time.
I mean, after 8 years, he had to tailor that a little bit. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to zip this thing all the way up and down. Nah, screw that. Cutting it off here, little tack, put a little hem on this. We're good.
Move the zipper to the back.
Yeah.
So Lieutenant Riker assumes that Deanna and Commander Riker are together, and she has to be like, no, bud.
It's weird.
Here's what happened. So the last time you and I saw each other was on Beta Z at Janaran Falls. And we were going to meet on Risa 6 weeks later. Here's what happened. That meeting never happened. Riker earned a promotion very quickly, which he wanted, and he made his career a priority, and there wasn't much time for anything else. So we kept in touch, but we didn't really see each other again until we were both posted on the Enterprise. And our feelings for each other have changed. We have been working together for 6 years, but things cannot be as they used to be. And Riker tells her, I had a lot of time down there by myself. The thing that got me through was thinking of you, and my feelings for you have not changed, and I don't want to give up on you. And,
And these are all the things that Deanna wanted to hear, right?
Imagine if you met your partner 8 years prior, like a version of your partner from like when you very first started dating, met them now. You would be a little like, oh my God. So the two Rikers have to work together, and they irritate the hell out of each other, right? Obviously, as if you met a clone of yourself, would you get along with your clone?
Hold that thought. Hey, Jake, how do your
Yeah.
twins get along?
Boom.
Truthfully, I've never met two closer people than my two twins.
I would have to agree. Although, do they have those moments of we're close every other minute of the day, but for like this very short period of time, I hate you?
No.
I haven't seen that, but we're just approaching the teen years. So
Okay.
Oh,
Both of
Yeah,
you
they-
are.
never mind. I'll keep my mouth quiet. It's
No,
always
no,
going to be
it's-
great. It's going to be
I
great
get
all
it.
the time.
No, we're waiting for it. So they just turned 12. So that's
Gotcha.
where we're right on the cusp.
I'll just leave you with this. Good luck.
But if you yourselves
Yeah.
reflect on this, if there was a clone of you exactly the same,
But
would you
ears
get along?
removed.
More or less, yeah. Would you get along?
No, because I hate myself when I was in my 20s.
There you go.
I literally, I would tell everyone
do
that.
you think that your younger clone would have respect for you?
Oh, God, no.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Is that one Riker kind of changed and evolved. The other one stayed the same. I mean, he was stuck down there and he didn't emotionally evolve. His whole
Yeah.
focus was Deanna getting off the planet. Deanna getting off the planet. Where our other Riker,
He didn't even have a volleyball.
yeah, he has evolved. He's, I wouldn't get along with me from 20 years ago. I hated that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time
I
in
think-
therapy, and I would be kind to myself.
Oh,
Brag.
There's a good one.
man, I feel left out now. Wait, I met Chase Masterson. Okay, so I met a Star Trek. Okay, I'm good.
I think that the younger me would respect me. Maybe not respect, but just be like, how did you
Tolerate?
work at all of the places that you worked? How do I get there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then could you tell yourself? Because like, is that
No. No.
spoilers? So
Well, and
It's
I
not like
only
having
got
the
hit-
sports almanac.
it's
mean,
it's like Riker though. Thomas Riker wouldn't have become Will Riker had Will Riker not gone through what Will Riker had gone through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so
yeah.
yeah, I couldn't tell my younger self how to get to WWE or Star Trek because the experiences I had to get there
Yeah.
made me get there.
And I listened to tapes from me early in my career, and I'm in the same position, Jake. I hate that guy, and secondly, yeah, I would be asking those same questions. yeah.
Wait, I think I can win this one. Can I go back 25 years?
I don't know. Can you?
Sure.
Hold on. So you're going to move to Utah.
So that's my next question is if you could tell your past self about one inciting incident in your life that sets them on the path, what would that inciting incident be?
So you're going to move
that
to
girl
Utah.
at BYU.
What was that, Jake?
Don't date that girl at BYU.
Oh.
Really?
You'll know the one. You'll know the one.
You'll know.
And see, I can't answer any of those questions. They're entirely too personal. Except I would tell my former self, when your friend Dennis comes to you and says that he knows a guy, they're looking for investors in this little company called Pixar, say yes. Don't say no. Don't point to the Dire Straits video and say, that's computer animation. No one's going to watch a movie of that. A whole movie. What are you talking about? Say yes when he comes to you.
I would tell myself, play roller derby. Get into roller derby.
Which you
Which I did. That's the thing that set me on my path. So the two Rikers, not getting along. But Lieutenant Riker, he's not going to stop chasing after Deanna. So Deanna goes back to her quarters and she finds a little rolled up piece of paper on her fruit bowl. And I'm like, oh my God, to be loved is to be seen. And so he sends her on a scavenger hunt of sorts. And this rolled up piece of paper tells her to go to the transporter room. She finds another rolled up piece of paper with a flower. And so she's like, oh my God. And so that sends her to 10 Forward where there's like a whole package waiting for her, and she's like, oh my God. And Riker shows up in the background like such a romancer. And the gift is a tablet, and on it Lieutenant Riker has engraved a picture of Genera Falls, the last place that they spent their time together, and he etched it using a phaser beam, finely adjusted, and he had to try it 3 times before he got it just right. And I'm like, oh my God. 2 Rikers? So they sit down and she's like, listen, I don't know. And he's like, I spent all this time thinking about you and like fantasizing and like imagine, like, picturing what our life would be like. And I would look up at the moon and wonder if you were also looking up at the moon. And she was like, I had a life here. And I also spent a lot of time thinking about you. And I would look up at the moon and wonder if you're looking at the same moon. And just
Somewhere.
Get out of my head.
And she's like, I don't know. I don't know. And so Riker goes to Picard, Commander Riker goes to Picard, and he's like, dude, I don't know about this Lieutenant Riker guy.
He sucks, doesn't he?
And what's so funny is Lieutenant Riker has a lot of the same bold, brash ideas that Commander Riker has had in the past. So I can see why Commander Riker would be like, God, this guy sucks, but he's good. Damn it, Jim, he's good. And later, Deanna and Beverly are doing Makbara together. And Beverly, again, messy, is encouraging Deanna to act on her feelings towards Lieutenant Riker because Beverly is messy. And so Lieutenant Riker shows up.
I'm gonna interject there. I'm gonna defend Beverly for a minute.
I'm not saying it's bad to be messy.
No,
I'm just saying it's a personality trait she has.
I am certain that she is like, well, what if I could find another Jack?
Oh, don't do this to
Jay.
me.
Damn you, Jay.
Wow.
So,
Whoa.
yeah,
That's why you make the trek and we just... Damn you.
Damn.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, that's what Trek said to me too. So that we're good.
But the other thing is, what if Guinan had been in this episode? Just been like, just in 10-4, just doing this.
Just watching.
Just watching the whole thing. That would have been all I would have needed of her. No conversation, no advice, just...
Will would have gone up to her. Can you believe this guy? She would have smiled, turned, and walked away.
She would have said, yes, I can believe this guy.
I just want Guinan to say one thing to Deanna. Honey, you got to work this out. That's all I want. That's all I want.
So there, this scene in this exercise room, by the way, I was going to save this for when we talk about trivia for this episode, because I got a lot of trivia for this episode too. This is LeVar Burton's directorial debut.
Oh.
And I think he made some excellent choices. And this scene of them in this exercise room, the camera, it spins around them. I was like, wow, LeVar, love the choices in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
They do a little play wrestle and they kiss. And obviously, you know what happens next. So Deanna has a conscience. She has a conversation with Commander Riker. And she's like, okay, listen.
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal. You and I have had relationships with other people. And that's fine. This is a little different because it's you. And I'm sure that's weird for you. And Commander Riker admits that ever since Lieutenant Riker has been on board, he's been thinking about the choices that he's made. And he doesn't mind if she chooses to be with him. But he makes an extremely good point. He says, he is me. And remember, I chose career. And I don't want you to get hurt again.
Oh,
and I'm like,
yes.
oh my God, Riker.
That's 8 years of maturity right there.
2 Rikers. Oh my God.
No, Rob, you're absolutely right.
That is 8 years of maturity.
Imagine. I'm just saying Deanna could have had a very good night if she was with an emotionally mature Riker and one who's like so romantically obsessed with her. So, okay.
But I would say it's not just maturity. It's not just maturity, but it's actual love.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So
yes.
Lieutenant Riker has been fantasizing love.
Absolutely.
But Will, in that moment.
No, I could feel that from Lieutenant Riker. I could.
Yeah, and I
definitely
think
get that.
it's the way their relationship has gone. As much as we've badmouthed their choices over the past six seasons, I think that Riker and Deanna at this point really are best friends. And they could
absolutely.
They could talk about
whatever.
Like, this is not an easy conversation. So you want to date my little brother, who's basically me, but well, okay, and all of the just entanglements there. And he's just like, I don't want you to get hurt. For him to have that level of not just maturity, self-awareness, and just being able to pull himself out of that situation and just look at what's best for Deanna. I mean, kudos to Riker for that.
Oh my God. And like, especially having read Imzadi, like it really enhances your knowledge of their relationship and how truly intimate it really is. Because not only, they've been together physically, but they've mentally and emotionally, like they've been together. And
it's totally Jean Grey and Scott Summers, just saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just 10 seasons I would watch.
I'm just saying too. Lieutenant Riker in the sheets, Commander Riker in the conference table.
Stop threatening me with a good time. So, Commander Riker, Data, and Worf are playing poker, and this scene is so fucking funny, you guys, because Lieutenant Riker comes in and they're like, why don't you play with us? And Data is dealing. First of all, love his hat. Data's dealing, and they're all, I need 2. And Worf is like, I need 4 cards. And the way Data looks at him is like, bro, are you serious? and then they start to play the hand, and Worf immediately folds. Some of the funniest Star Trek I've seen in a long time. So they play poker. They have a heart-to-heart. Lieutenant and Commander Riker kind of hash it out, and I would say they leave as friends. So later that day, Lieutenant Riker goes to see Troy, and he's like, hey, so because I exist, I cannot work on this Enterprise. And so Picard has managed to get me a post on the Gandhi, and I gotta go work. And I think it would be very fun if you came with me and we got married. And Deanna's like, this is exactly what you said last time.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly what happened. And it took me a really long time to get over what happened last time. And I have a life here on the Enterprise, and I'm choosing me. Deanna Troi is choosing Deanna Troi, and I'm staying here for me. And Lieutenant is like, bummer.
Mm-hmm.
And leaves. So they do all the Data stuff that they were supposed to do, and the episode ends. Lieutenant Riker is going to go to the Gandhi, and he's like, I'm going to go by a different name. I'm going to go by my middle name, Thomas, because we've known it's William T. Riker. I'm going to go by my name, Thomas. And they're like, cool. Kisses Troy one more time, leaves. And I immediately took issue because I was like, oh, weird. Imzadi says that your middle name is Thelonious. And
I thought it was Tiberius. Anyway,
that's but apparently
Later you might think it's Thaddeus.
Oh, don't tell me that. So
Stop it.
Imzadi, the novel, was released a year before this episode. So Thelonious, Jonathan Frakes says canonically that's the middle name. Is Thelonious, not Thomas.
Really? Oh, interesting
Yeah.
that he would take that position.
Yeah.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
And I'm jumping back to where they left off when we find them in Encounter at Farpoint. That's basically the same Riker Troy that we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
Deanna, in the first, I think, 3 episodes of TNG, calls him Bill.
Bill, yes.
Yeah, weird.
remember that,
I don't
yeah.
like.
Why does he choose Thomas over Bill? Because he's been fantasizing getting back with Troy, and if that's what she calls him, and he's been thinking that's his name for the last 8 years, and she's going to call me that.
I think I have
It
an
sounds
answer
like
for
you're
that.
asking a lot of questions.
I
Yes,
think I have
Rob.
an answer for that. And I think that it's, if he's starting a effectively brand new life from that point, he's going to do as much to separate himself not only from
fair.
Will as from Deanna. If he's like, this is my path, then I've got to, as much as I can make clean breaks and re-identifying myself, like, think about it like changing schools. You've been known by everybody over here, but this is an entirely new environment. I can reinvent myself the way I want to. I can have people call me what I want to here. I'm going to go with this.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Rob. When I was going through chemotherapy, they all called me Jacob because that was what my ID and insurance and all of that was. And I don't know if it was a conscious decision, but I never let them call me Jake.
It was your chemo persona.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that rationale, 9 times out of 10 at work, it's Robert. Period. Friends and family. And there's some people at work that I do work with, and I'm like, sure, Rob is okay. I will not take your head off for that. But it's typically, if I've got a professional relationship, it is Robert.
Yeah.
When I was in second grade, there was another Rebecca F. And so I went by my middle name, Sylvain, and it did not stick.
Did not. Nope.
Did not stick. So personally loved this episode.
It's a good one.
Some fun trivia. May C. Jemison, who plays Chief Palmer in this episode, has the unique distinction of being the first real astronaut to ever appear on Star Trek.
Yes.
Do you guys know how fucking excited that made me? Because I love women astronauts.
She was totally inspired by Nichelle Nichols.
Her friend.
Yes.
Who visited the set during filming. Macy Jemison served as the science mission specialist on the STS-47 Space Lab J flight, which launched on September 12, 1992. And while in space, she began each shift by informing Mission Control in Houston, hailing frequencies open.
That's awesome.
Isn't that so nice? So this is also LeVar Burton's first time directing, and he received a lot of praise for coping well with the difficulties of filming an episode with so many complex visual effects. Dr. Macy Jemison is the leader of the 100-year Starship Initiative, which I Googled and still exists, which seeks to launch an interstellar voyage within the next 100 years. And LeVar Burton serves on the group's advisory committee.
Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month. The working title of this episode, Too Many Rikers.
I don't know why you didn't go with that.
Because they already had Fistful of Datas.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And not TOO, TWO. Too Many Rikers.
Oh, okay. No, they should have gone with that then.
And finally, originally, Will Riker was going to be killed off in this episode. Will's transporter-created duplicate, Thomas, would have joined the crew of the Enterprise as a low-ranking officer, with Data moving up to the first officer position. This idea was abandoned, which I'm glad.
Yeah.
I have one more bit of trivia. It's Jonathan Frakes trivia.
Yeah, love it. Love to hear it.
No one appeared more on the Ready Room over its almost 100 episodes, or just over 100 episodes, than Jonathan Frakes.
I love him.
He appeared as a director. He appeared as an actor. And we wanted to get him a 5-timer Ready Room jacket.
Oh my God. Very specific interest to me.
But unfortunately, that wasn't in the budget, as you may have read in the trades yesterday. Paramount Streaming's budget is just terrific.
Sliced,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. But he was wonderful. He's wonderful to work with.
I believe
Okay, so I have to ask, would it have been like Picard's away mission jacket? If you had done so?
I think it would have been closer to, I can't describe it exactly with Rebecca's because she's not there yet.
That's okay.
But a certain type of jacket that Data wears in the series finale.
Ah.
Understood.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I can't wait to get there.
But I will say, when he came out for a convention here in New Jersey about 2 weeks after I was laid off, and I told him that, and he just shook his head and was like, "Fucking unacceptable." And I was like, "Commander Riker,
Your
can
hall,
you make it better?"
Your hall of memory mind palace framed moments in time must be so fun. The last episode, Timescape, I literally don't even want to talk about because it's got Romulans, and you know how I feel about Romulans.
You don't care for the Romulans.
How do you feel about Romulans?
I don't care for them. Aboard a shuttlecraft and en route back to the Enterprise, Picard, LaForge, Data, and Troy find themselves in a time trap of some sort. The Enterprise being taken over by Romulans, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Let's talk about Too Many Rikers more. Just kidding.
You don't like long nails, long fingernails, and drawing faces on
crazy.
clouds?
That was crazy, right? Picard had like long fingernails all of a sudden.
And they were painful for some reason.
And they were painful? Like, yeah, listen, I didn't care, and I don't care to talk about it because we're also coming up on time anyway. So let's say we watched it and had fun. So those are the episodes we're going to talk about this week. What do you guys think? Best episodes ever? Our favorites?
I forgot what a good episode that Thomas Riker one was. I always just kind of chuckled at it when it was first broadcast. That was the last time I saw it. I just kind of chuckled at it and went, "Oh, there they go with the transporter problems again." But now going back,
I thought it was an
and watching
interesting
again.
look, but I think it was an interesting look because they've done these things where, like with Tapestry or The Inner Light, you've gotten what would my life have been like in a certain circumstance, and I think this was a great way of doing that kind of thing, but giving you, instead of you see that life lived out, you see it in real time with both of them, how it's playing out for each of them. And I think that was just a really neat twist on the what if my life had gone differently trope.
Yeah. And Imzadi, the book, if you haven't read it, get it. I mean, Jake's a good writer, but boy, Peter David really knocked it out of the park with that one.
Yeah, and like I listened to the audiobook. The audiobook was a lot of fun. There's 2 more books in that particular series. I'm probably not going to read them. But something that was very funny, there's a moment where Lieutenant Riker and Deanna are talking, and she says that she's learned a lot from Lieutenant Worf, and they dated after. Deanna and Worf dated for a little bit apparently, and so that was just kind of a fun thing to think about. Just talking to Lieutenant Commander about her other ex-boyfriend.
Don't make your decision on the other books yet. I will say that. Don't make that decision yet.
Here's the thing: is I ship Deanna and Riker so aggressively that I can't fathom reading another book where she dates somebody else.
See? You see what I'm saying? They got a weird relationship.
10 seasons I would watch of a Deanna and Riker show. Also, Timescape, the episode I didn't want to talk about, directed by Adam Nimoy.
Yes.
Thought I'd mention that. So,
is that his first one?
No, he's done one before.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But next episode, we're going to be talking about the season 6 finale and the season 7 premiere, Descent parts 1 and 2. Are you guys excited?
I can't wait for you to watch those.
Oh my God.
No pressure.
There's gonna be so much for you to love in those 2 episodes.
Oh, really?
I am excited.
I do Teleplay by Ronald D. Moore. I do like it when Ronald D. Moore gets his fingers in this. Okay, well.
I'm just saying that I think that Miss Rebecca's going to love this episode coming up. That's what I'm saying.
Stop. Does Mark Twain return?
No. But there are other things that you will enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, can I come back?
Of course.
I want to come back.
Absolutely.
I insist.
Yeah.
Isn't it fun to talk about Star Trek with your friends?
And I don't get in trouble for it? Yeah, I love that.
I watched most of these episodes last night because I'm a procrastinator, and I literally hadn't watched Star Trek since the last episode that we released in December. It had been just about 3 months since I'd watched any kind of Star Trek. And I was watching it last night and I was like, oh my God, I love this show. I forgot how much I just love Star Trek so much. And it was nice coming back to a friend.
Well, it's good to be back.
It's good to be back. Thank you, everyone, for dealing with us during this hiatus. Would have been back sooner, but January was crazy. And so thank you for just coming back. And we'll hope you stick around. Jake, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh,
so
man.
happy to have you.
This is the greatest thing ever. I love this.
Well, we'll see you guys next time. And until then, we will continue to go where no man has gone before, but a lot of people have gone before. Signing off, everybody.